So remember how last patch they didn't adjust pencil? Guess what they didn't do this patch? Adjust pencil. We're already off to a great start. 6.1 dropped with some pretty heavy mistranslations in the English notes, so today I'm gonna cover all of them because there are some interesting changes here, and of course, a lot of disappointment. I'm gonna get started explaining everything, and then I'll go over my thoughts afterward. Subscribe if you enjoy, and let's get started. So first off, they buffed End Zap. Yeah, we're already off to a great start with this patch. They buffed its damage from 28 to 30, which actually gives it the exact same damage per second as Splattershot. Why did they do this? I don't know. They did make it 200p later, so I guess technically it's in about the same spot, and it's gonna be a bit better in Rainmaker, but it's kind of weird that we buff the damage on this weapon when it's already good. Despite it being a stupid change, it's relatively harmless, so whatever. Dynamo and Flingza both got the horizontal swing, bigger one-shot radius buff that Roller and Carbon got last patch. I don't know why they didn't get them until this patch, but cool. Flingza Roller actually got an extra buff, where its whiting frames after a vertical flick are reduced by 5. This is great for Dynamo since its horizontal flick is notoriously unreliable. Is it going to be enough to see any form of competitive usage? No. Am I also tired of the low tier weapons getting only the smallest of buffs? Yes. Flings on the other hand has a bit more of a chance, but it's competing directly with the pencil that was unchanged earlier, so good luck with that. Flingza likes to be played on very spammy sit back and paint maps, and that's unfortunately something pencil already does. Ink Brush is getting a buff to its movement speed, being approximately 3% faster. This is basically the equivalent of running about 2 subs of main power up in Splatoon 2, except you don't need the gear. And on top of that, the ink consumption while rolling has been reduced by about 7%. These are very small buffs, but Ink Brush's speed has been a bit less noteworthy since Cooler, so making it a little bit better does help that problem. Splatbrella got an ink consumption reduction of about 13%, which is pretty significant. The shield is still very ink hungry, but the shots are going to be a lot better. This gives Brellas a bit more gear freedom, but a little bit of Ink Saver main might still be fine on the weapon. Maybe this could be enough for Cerellabrella to see some use, but I really doubt it. I think this weapon needs a bit more. Speaking of weapons that needed a bit more, this pattern continues with the Undercover Brella, where when a player holds the ZR button to fire, they will now be able to jump higher than before. So basically this means Undercover won't have a jump height penalty when you are firing the weapon. I mean, again, like, cool, but is that it? Like, really? That's it? Oh, okay, sure, alright. On to the nerfs. First up is Squeezer. This was one of the mistranslated ones, which has been corrected. The amount of ink consumed from the standard fire mode is increased by approximately 9%. Squeezer is already an ink-hungry weapon, but now it's going to be even more ink-hungry. And on top of that, the spray droplets created by the paint mode is actually nerfed, meaning its painting mode is slightly worse. Squeezer is a powerhouse of a weapon at fighting, and it seems they're not trying to take away from that, but rather give it more downtime and even more special output and paint numbers, which is an interesting way to make its flaws a bit more out there. This is becoming a shooter that fits into the more drastic weaknesses and drastic strengths category, which is pretty new for the weapon. I don't know if it's going to be enough to nerf it properly, but I think this is probably going to be good enough. Next up is ballpoint spotting. Maybe the devs saw a video from like 9 months ago when it was good and thought that it needed to be nerfed. I don't know why. It does not see much use anywhere, but alright. On top of that, I would love to say this is some small insignificant nerf, but I can't even do that. The scatter of shots fired in long range mode is increased, so this is an RNG nerf. We even did this already in Splatoon 2. Why are we doing it again? Why are we doing it 9 months too late? What are we doing with the game? I truly do not understand anything about this. I don't get it. Anyway, next up is Stamper. Its paint on charge slashes is 10% worse. Sure, it got a bit too much crab, and it painted a bit too well, and it's really good, and that's probably one of the better ways we can nerf it. Why not? That's all the main weapon changes, so Dumpster Fire has already started. Luckily, the specials are actually pretty cool. Wavebreaker, when placed, will now be able to locate enemies around it. Basically, think of when you throw Wavebreaker, you're probably also throwing a point sensor that locates for 7 seconds. It's actually some new and interesting special utility that I think gives the special a bit more depth while making it a bit better. It's kinda neat, and I actually really like it. This is a good change. I don't know if it's enough to make the special good, but it's definitely gonna be enough to make sure it has some impact. The change everyone's talking about, though, is Inkstorm, which, yes, this was translated wrong. It isn't a nerf, it's a buff. When you're in your own team's Inkstorm, not the other team, you will recover your health more quickly, even when not submerged in ink. Now, this could mean that the HP recovery buff also applies to squid form, or it could mean it's only in human form. However, we do know it's recovering more quickly, so this likely isn't changing the amount of time it takes before your HP starts regenning. My theory is that when you're in kid form, it will probably be closer to, if not the same as recovering in squid form, and squid form will be unchanged, but it's hard to say for sure. Storm is a special that has needed more depth, and this is an interesting new mechanic. I think HP regeneration is very scary to mess with, but this isn't modifying the amount of time it takes to start recovering health, most likely, which means any weapon that does have to hit multiple shots to kill with a long delay, like blasters or machine for example, should still be fine getting their kills if there isn't a ton of delay. That shouldn't be a problem. If anything, this might end up being a really good thing, nerfing things like bomb spam or chip damage comps from being able to get 2 easy kills, and this honestly might even hurt Pencil a tiny bit. Though that's mostly copium, and even if it did, guess what? The best Inkstorm weapon in the game is probably the other Pencil. At least that one's 210 though. Alright, points for special changes. Let's take a look at... No way! Forge has escaped 210p realm! It and Kenzo Splattershot Pro have been stuck at 210p for almost 4 years now! But the devs have finally realized that people aren't playing this weapon! They finally realized that MPU damage up was an entire game ago! And they buffed it back to 200p! Let's go! Okay, anyway, here's the rest of them. So, Neo Splushiomatic is 170p. Very dumb change that's gonna make it more of a rat weapon, but we also put that kit in the game for no reason, so why not? Luna 170 Zip is fine, it doesn't pain a lot, so whatever. Bamboo 190 Whale is actually a pretty significant buff. I think it gets Whale just fine, so this is pretty good for it. Same for Zimmy with 190 Bubble. Splattershot and Enzap that I mentioned earlier already are both 200p, so hey, we didn't fix Zuka Startup, but at least we're fixing Zuka Spam. I would be really happy about that if this wasn't a random buff that happened a few patches ago and shouldn't have been there in the first place. We already had this weapon at 200p before! So, you know, like, it's great, but could we not have, like, made it 190 in the first place? You know, that might have been a good idea, just saying. Anyway, Tri Nouveau is also getting a points for special increase for 210. I'm guessing this is mostly because of Turf, because Tri is still very good in Turf, but this feels a bit unnecessary. I don't think Tri Cooler output was very good, but alright. And then Heavy Edit 202. Look, I don't really mind the Cooler spam ability being toned down, but if we're gonna tone back 3 of the 4 main Cooler guns and not the other one, we effectively just buffed that other one. And the other one we didn't buff was already the best Cooler option in the game.
Go on, Scram, get out of here, you moochers! That's right, keep moving!
You know what? Yeah.
Except you stay.
Guys, I would love to sit here and be more positive about this patch, and there is good stuff in it. My expectations were low anyway, but holy crap, man. Some of these are crazy. How is Pencil not changed? How is Ballpoint getting a long-range nerf? Why are we still giving Dynamo Roller the smallest buffs patch after patch and not realizing that maybe it needs something more than this? Why is Zap 30 damage now? Like, I don't know what we're doing with half of these changes. And I usually don't mind this stuff as much, but in this patch, like, half the changes are this aimless garbage that doesn't actually do anything, and we need more than this. When your buffs are overall not doing anything, and your nerfs aren't addressing the right thing, it's very hard to be positive about the patch. This is going to be one that, again, people are okay with because the state of the game isn't that bad. But I don't know how much longer backlines and supports are going to be enjoying being in pencil hell for any longer. I've already seen some of the main pencil players not be that happy about it. So, yeah, this was an overall bad patch with a few good changes in it, and I'm not happy with it, and I really hope we get something better. At least the Mincemeat rework might be good, so we'll see how that goes next time. Let me know your thoughts below, and I'll see you all later.